Well guys, welcome back to Chef Look Cooks. Today we are going to be doing a little short series. We're going to be starting off our excellent adventure. This is actually a lead-in to a longer series we're going to be doing over the winter and into spring, where I ask you for recommendations on what to cook. The last program we did before summer was all of my favorite foods, so I want to know what your favorite foods are now. This egg program was actually a suggestion from a patron, and I took it and ran with it. But I'd love to have more suggestions from you guys. Anything you think I can cook in about an hour, let me know. On the website, under the calendar, there are the signups for this, but right below that is the Google form where you can fill out a dish that you might want me to cook. If you have any good recipes for it, you can point me in the right direction. I know how to cook almost everything at this point, but the real question is, can I do it in this kitchen? So, you know, if you want me to do something in general, baked items tend to be off the list just because the oven is a little bit awkward for this program, but if I can make it work, I will. So please get your suggestions in. We'll be doing eggs for the next 3 programs, and then after that we'll be right into staff and patron suggestions. So fill that list up, give me a bunch of stuff to work with, and hopefully you'll get to eat your own favorite food in this very room. But today we're going to do actually one of my favorite foods, even though we didn't do it in the spring, shakshuka. So shakshuka is a Northern African dish originally. It has since sort of worked its way into the Middle East and is pretty ubiquitous there as well. And at its core, shakshuka is just eggs poached in something. It doesn't have to be tomato sauce, but classically it is. It's tomato sauce spiced with usually cumin, paprika, and either hot peppers if you want them, or any number of different herbs and spices. Today I'm going to put a little bit of cinnamon there just to give it a little bit more of that sort of North African flair. I hope that is going to be okay with everyone. Before I really get into anything, does anybody have any allergies I need to know about? Cool. We're working with a lot of nightshades today. I've got eggplant, tomatoes, and peppers, so I just want to make sure. Does anybody hate cilantro? Is anybody one of those unfortunates who does not like cilantro? I will put the cilantro on the side. You will be able to put the cilantro on top yourself. We won't put the cilantro in. Though if I'm cooking this at home for myself, I put an entire bunch of cilantro in it, no problem. So I have a little bowl for cilantro on the side. We'll have some hot peppers, cilantro, and a little bit of ricotta salata to put on top. I like ricotta for this because it's not too salty like feta, but it's got that same sort of crumbly nature. So without talking too much, I'm going to jump right into cooking.
Chris, you're not going to make it too hot, are you?
I'm not. I have 4 jalapenos. I'm going to put 2 in the dish, no seeds, and I'm going to put 2 on the side for garnish, for those of you that want it spicier. The amount of sauce we're going to make is like a lot. It's probably going to fill this pot, so 2 habanero jalapenos shouldn't be too spicy. We're making a big batch of sauce, and then I'm going to use the pan here to cook in batches. We'll do 6 eggs at a time, and we'll eventually get through everybody. But the cooking process is going to be a little different. It's not all going to be done at once, just because we are poaching eggs. So for eggs, we're going to start with garlic. These are whole bulbs that I actually grew myself, which is kind of fun. I didn't want to buy any because I have so much of this right now. So we're going to break that down. And for me, I like to put the hard neck. This is hard neck garlic, which stores really, really well. I put the hard neck against the table and it's kind of pushed down, and that usually breaks it up enough that you can start getting all of the cloves out. And so that's what I'm just doing right here. And we're just going to start rocking. I'm going to get my pan heated up. So shakshuka is basically just, at least the one we're making today, is a tomato sauce that you could turn into like a marinara if you wanted to. It's very close to ratatouille also as well, especially today when I'm putting eggplants in there. It's just a really, really lovely flavor combination. All of these nightshade plants, when you put them together, just tend to like build on similar but different flavors, and they make something that's really, really delicious. And so probably my first introduction to this was taking some ratatouille that had expired when I was working at Morning Glory, and it was so expired that I was like, well, I'll heat it up, it'll be fine. I heated it up, and then I had some eggs and I put them in there, and I was eating it, and one of my friends was like, oh, it's shakshuka. I'm like, what the heck is that? And so that was sort of my first introduction. I landed on it by accident. It's an easy dish to land on by accident. You might have some leftover marinara, and maybe you're just feeling a little, excited for something spicy for breakfast. You put a bit of cayenne in there, you throw some eggs in, and you've just accidentally made shakshuka. It's not a hard dish to kind of stumble upon, but it does have a lot of history. There are a bunch of books that I picked out for you guys to look at that sort of go over some various different versions of this. Actually, one of them is more like a hash and eggs. It's just a tomato or a potato shakshuka. So they make a very like spiced up potato hash basically, and then they just poach the eggs in the potatoes. And that was a really fun one to see. It really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that it doesn't have to be tomato based. There's green shakshukas you can make with tomatillos or just green tomatoes, or pretty much any sauce you want. There's white ones that have a more cream base. Really the only like sort of unifying feature of shakshuka is the egg. It's egg poached in something. But this is the one that I like the best for sure. This entire meal, except for the toast, is not courtesy, we did have to pay them, but it's coming from Morning Glory Farm. We're taking a big dive into this sort of end of season harvest. This is one of my favorite times of year. Everybody who is here for the summer has just gone, but all the vegetables just showed up. Like, this is, if you're not eating vegetables right now, you should be. This is the best time to be getting them on the island. Everything is in full swing, and it will be until we hit our first frost, which these nights are getting cold, but we're not there yet. I think we had a sort of scare a couple days ago, but we seem to be on the warm side of nights again. So this is me telling you guys to go get vegetables in your lives right now. If you guys have ever canned before, now's the time to be doing that as well. These are actually seconds tomatoes. They have a big deal going on right now. I'm not officially endorsing Morning Glory at all means, but I like a deal and I want you guys to know about it too. So they'll get you 20 pounds for $27, which is a very, very good deal for tomatoes. And you can pick them yourself. They're not just prepackaged. A lot of times when you get seconds, they give you a big bin. You can go through and pick the ones that you like. These are only split because they were at the bottom of the bag and because they're very, very ripe. I've bought a lot of tomatoes on this island. It's probably one of the best deals I've seen available without having to go wholesale. So can't recommend it enough. If you like tomatoes, now's the time to be putting them away. Either make tomato sauce or put them away whole, whatever you like. Garlic is so sticky. That's good. That means this stuff is fresh. We just harvested this after it overwintered and then grew all spring, and so it hasn't had a lot of time to cure, which means it's going to be a little bit intense, but I think that's going to be fine for us today. We're making a really, really big sauce, so the more we have, the better. That's getting nice and hot. Put some oil in there. We're just going to be browning this garlic and then just adding more and more veggies as we go. We're going to add onions, then we're going to add our eggplant and our peppers, let those soften up, and then we'll put the tomatoes in there. One thing I really like about this is everything can be really chunky. We don't really care so much about texture in this. You can make a really smooth shakshuka, but I've never really had good luck with it. When it comes time to poaching the eggs, they tend to sink to the bottom. You kind of want a little bit of chunk to your sauce so that the eggs have something to rest on. They stay near the top and they get a really nice look to them when they poach. But you're going to see a lot of vegetables go through this cutting board right now, and it's just because I'm trying to feed everybody. I want to make sure everybody has plenty of food. I always cook massive batches. I don't really know how to cook for like 2 people. If you do, please teach me that skill. I like pull things out of my fridge and I start cooking, and all of a sudden I have like a pot that's like this that's full, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, I was just trying to cook for today. It works really great for the rest of the week. I have lunches and stuff, but I just never developed that skill. All right, so like I said, nice rough chop on pretty much everything. We're not going to spend too much time making things pretty because honestly, it's not going to matter at the end of the day. It's going to be sort of it's a messy dish. It never really, it's pretty hot. Nice, this thing doesn't usually get this hot. It's a pretty messy dish in general. A lot of sopping up, that's why I really like it with toast. You kind of just like throw your stuff in there. So we're going to do, I think, these 2 ones and this medium one for the onions. The recipe, it's quadrupling basically for today. I think I'm going to use a little less tomatoes than the recipe says, just because of how I'm doing the batch cooking. Usually when I cook shakshuka, I have a little bit of tomato sauce left and it kind of gets distributed between everybody's plate, but that little bit of tomato sauce is going to go into the next poach, and so I think we're going to maybe need a little bit less tomatoes than we normally would, but in general the sort of rule of thumb is 1 tomato to 1 egg. So if I'm feeding 1 person, I want to also have 1 tomato in that sauce. And then from there you can kind of extrapolate the other ingredients. The rest of your veggies usually is about the same size as that 1 tomato. So if you were making this for 1 person, I take 1 tomato and I take enough peppers, onions, and eggplant to essentially be this amount of mass. And that should make a pretty good balanced sauce that will support your eggs but also taste really, really good. So if you guys were paying attention to the onions, I did cut them with the root on. That's just a technique I usually like to do if I'm trying to get a really fine dice. I'm actually not. So I don't know why I did that, but my brain went ahead and did it. So we're just going to go with that. The garlic's getting nice and brown already. This is nice. This for those of you who cooked with me before, this Cuisinart doesn't always get hot very fast. There's been some infamous potato situations in the past where I've tried to cook potatoes on it, but it's doing really good right now, which is great. So the reason you keep the root end on your onion like that is so that all the layers stay together. It's really useful if you're trying to do a really fine dice, because you can just cut this way and that way and all different ways, and it's not going to just fall apart, because onions are very slippery in between their layers. I'm making really big chunks right now, although of all the things that I'm putting in here, the onions are probably the thing that you probably want to cut the smallest, because they don't really break down the same way that other vegetables do. They don't get mushy. Like, you can cook onions forever and they're still going to be have some bite to them. For any of you who've had like a really well caramelized onion, you know, even in like an onion soup, those onions have some texture to them, and that's because they're really fibrous. You know, I mean, they're basically paper. You literally used to make paper out of onion skins, so they got a lot of fiber in them. They're very, very useful, but they're also just incredibly tasty. All right, cool. So we'll get those peeled. Get this wiped up a little bit. Make sure my garlic doesn't burn. That's looking perfect. A little bit of brown on your garlic is exactly what you want. If you burn the garlic, it starts to get black. It can get really bitter, which is not the end of the world in this dish. We're going to have a decent amount of salt and a decent amount of acid in there that should help us to counteract that bitter flavor. But I have a question, yeah?
The onions, yellow onion, white onion.
Oh, it doesn't really matter. These are yellow onions, I believe. I just got the ones that they were growing in Morning Glory. But yeah, it does not matter one bit. Onions, you're really looking for just that like sort of allium flavor. You don't even have to use onions. You could use leeks, or what other kind of like scallions. You could literally use anything you have. That's, in fact, more so than any other. That was fun. More so than any other dish, and I pretty much always say this. You can make substitutions in this. Literally, the only thing that matters is the tomatoes. Everything else, if you don't like it, if you want more of it, you can do that. You know, if you really like Vidalia onions, put those in for sure. I only use these because they were what was available at Morning Glory. And so I wanted to try and make this a complete farm experience, which I have been successful at doing. Yes, question?
You said that it should be the size of the tomato. Is it the eggplant should be the same size in terms of quantity?
Well,
One or...
in total, the total mass of your additional vegetables should equal the mass of your tomato. So if I'm doing one tomato, I'm going to, whatever chopped veggies I'm putting in with it, I want to be the same size. So this is about a cup, I'd say. I'd have a cup of mixed vegetables to go with it. That's just a ratio thing for when you're experimenting. If you're using tomatoes as the base, keep the tomatoes as the base, but then you can, add dark greens, you can add, obviously eggplant, which I really enjoy. But you can add absolutely anything. If you really like a vegetable, get it in there. Spinach is another really classic one. Chard, kohlrabi. I mean, you can shred up carrots and put it in there. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. This is probably one of my favorite parts about this dish. It's a good fridge clean out thing you can do on the weekend. Just that might be enough onion, actually. I might save that half for now. So we're going to put that in there. Garlic's this nice brown color. See if I can get the camera to sort of catch that. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. That garlic is going to add a lot of flavor, which is good. We needed to do some good work for us today. Yitty mater. All right, let's take a peek at that. You know what? I can put the rest of the onion in there, so let's do it. Whew, those are intense. I think these onions need to cure a little bit longer as well, but they're nice. They're really fresh. I know a lot of times in the past, some of the onions have had like rotten cores, and I know you saw one of those had a little bit of that going on, but this is probably one of the best years I've seen for onions from the farm, so very excited about that. So we're going to stir that up. Now that we have more stuff in our pan, I can crank the heat up a little bit. I want to try and maintain the same temperature in this pan as I chop my vegetables, as I add them. For those of you who've cooked with me before, this is a style that I really like to do. I don't like doing my prep beforehand because I have too much time in between adding ingredients. Like, I don't want to have to sit here and wait while I'm cooking my onions. I want to be cutting my peppers while I'm cooking my onions, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing. So these are Anaheim peppers. If you have never had one before, please go and buy one. They're delicious. It's like a sweet pepper had a baby with a hot pepper, but there's none of the heat. It's got all of that really, really intense flavor. They're lovely to grill. You just can throw them on the grill like this. You don't have to do anything to them. They're also way easier to clean than sweet peppers because sweet peppers have like the weird ribs. I can just cut this thing down the middle. It's got barely any seeds in it, and it's clean. Like, I don't have to do anything. So really, really love these. They're Anaheims. They sometimes go by, they don't go by the name, but you sometimes see peppers that look like this that are actually quite hot. I believe they're like a pale green color, and they're not hot wax, but it's something along those lines. And they're very spicy, so be careful that you don't get those. Anaheims are what you want, and I picked a bunch of different colors here just to kind of make things exciting. I thought I had one more. He's lost to the world. Just to make things look really nice. One thing, because we're doing big chunks, we're going to be able to see all of these colors as we serve this up. So we'll have orange, we'll have green, we'll have red. We have 2 different colors of tomato as well. We've got all the nice greens from the herbs we're going to be putting in there. The egg will probably kind of turn brown, but I really like eggplant because it's going to suck up all the flavor of the sauce, and it's going to be a really good vehicle to make sure. Plus, we're putting eggs in there. It kind of felt cool to put eggplant in there as well. I had a good story about eggplant, why it's called eggplant, and it's escaping me right now, which is unfortunate. If anybody has a good story about why it's called eggplant, I'll take it. I knew it at one point, and I don't remember. Nope, it's going to escape me. If it pops back up, I'll make sure to tell you guys. So again, I'm just doing sort of rough chop on this, and I really love these peppers because you can cut big, long strips like that. With a sweet pepper, your strips are usually a little bit shorter, which just means more cutting. Every time that my knife has to touch this board is time and effort that I'm putting into cooking, and I like putting time and effort into my cooking, but if I can cut corners, I'm gonna cut corners. And so not only is this pepper adding more flavor than a sweet pepper would, but it's easier to deal with, so it's like a win all around. It's a lot of good reasons why I like this. And just like you throw it on the grill like that, and then once it's all grilled up, you put like a little bit of like hamburger meat in there, or put it in a taco or on a hamburger. Man, it's a really good pepper is all I'm saying. If you haven't tried them before, I cannot recommend them enough. So I just got them all cut into strips now, and you'll see this every time I cut pretty much anything. It's always the same technique. Cut it into strips, then cut it into cubes, and it's just a matter of how big are the strips, how big are the cubes. I want something that's about bite size, so I'm going for, I would say, maybe a centimeter cube. But you know, I'm not measuring anything. We're cooking for fun here. This is home cooking at its best. If you want to see some fine dining shakshuka, I'm sure it exists, but this wouldn't be my first pick for a fine dining experience. It's just messy. It always will be. It's a sauce with eggs poached in it. And you can make that look really pretty, but it's not going to be guaranteed. I'm actually going to crank this up even more. Maybe a 1/4 cup, I would say, and I'm not going to put much more in there. There's going to be plenty of moisture in these vegetables, so I'm not too worried about my moisture levels in there or anything sticking. If they do stick, when the tomatoes go in, I'll be able to scrape the bottom and get all that off, so I'm not too worried about it. And you know, you can put more oil in there if you want, but what will happen is you'll get a bit of like a slick at the top, and you'll be almost frying your eggs instead of poaching them. The poaching is definitely the way to go. I'm not following my recipe right now, by the way, so if I go off, oops. But I think this is about right. I've made this dish enough times that I kind of just like go with the vibes of it. So I'm gonna cut up the peppers now. We are gonna deseed these, and I've got a little bowl to put my garnish ones in. So jalapenos, similar deal to the Fresnos. You can cut them right down the middle, and then just pull the seeds out. If I was cooking this for myself, and I'm gonna do this for one of these, I'm gonna leave the seeds in one of these for the garnish. For those of you who like a little bit spicier. If I was cooking it for myself, I would leave nice big chunks of jalapeno, but I'm going to dice these so they're nice and small, and they are more of a flavor agent as opposed to a spice agent. Like for me, the best thing possible would be to get a giant chunk of jalapeno while I'm eating my shakshuka, but I don't want to do that to you guys unless you want to do that to yourselves, in which case you have options. So I'm going to get these big ones deseeded now. And then I'm going to dice the other ones very, very, very small. I'll show you how you do that in just a second. So if you guys are sensitive to hot peppers, don't do what I'm doing right now. Don't use your fingers to remove the seeds from the hot pepper. Your fingers will get all numb. You will feel very, very strange for a while, and you will have to be very diligent about not touching your eyes. I have at this point in my life touched so many hot peppers that my fingers don't really react to them anymore. Capsaicin is a very intense chemical, but it doesn't actually, despite all the pain that it causes, it doesn't actually cause any harm to your body. It's a nervous response, like a nerve system response, but it's not a pain. Like the pain is only pain. It is not damage to your cells. If anything, the increased blood flow is helping them to stay healthier. So it's kind of a fun thing to know that. Obviously my first experience, I thought I was hurting myself, but I realized that I wasn't, and it was just an experience to go through. So I've been experimenting with a lot of hot peppers, and one of the cool things about them is your body develops a resistance to them faster than almost any other chemical that I know of, at least. If you eat a very, very hot dish and sweat and cry and yell in pain, and you come back to that exact same dish an hour later, it's not going to taste even close to as hot. And if you come back again the next day, it's going to be like you weren't even eating the same thing. And if you continue to eat hot peppers, that tolerance just grows and grows and grows to the point where you can just like eat a habanero if you want to, and it's going to hurt, but it's not going to like kill you. You're not going to be screaming with your mouth under the tap, Okay, cool. So I'm just going to slice these guys pretty thin as well. These are going to be the seedless ones. We'll put them on the other side of this bowl for those that want a little spice, but maybe not as much as the seeds are going to give you. The hottest parts of peppers are the seeds and the white ribs. Both of those things are also incredibly bitter. Part of the reason why they are bitter is because of that chemical, capsaicin. I think that's how you say it. That's in there. A lot of really intense chemicals like that tend to be really bitter. But they also can be very, very good and flavorful, or add, in this case, the lovely spice that we want. So I'm cutting much, much thinner strips here. If I was doing like a pickled carrot, I would be shredding my carrots and then doing thin strips like this for the jalapenos, mixing them together with some vinegar and sugar and salt, and it would be absolutely delicious to put on tacos or even as a garnish on top of this. Carrots are, I'm not doing them today, but carrots are a really, really fun addition to this. You just do shredded carrots. It adds a lot of really cool texture. So if you have textural issues, I wouldn't do it necessarily. They're much like onions, a very, very fibrous vegetable, so they don't break down super well unless you involve an immersion blender. But they add a really nice flavor and a little bit of sweetness, which for me, I like my tomato sauce sweet. When I was younger, when I was younger, my dad used to put sugar in his tomato sauce because that's what his mom did. And so I kind of grew up with this like sweet and savory tomato vibe, and I've never been able to kick it since. I think when I have a tomato sauce, I want something sweet. So my marinara to this day has carrots in it. It's probably one of my favorite things to just like dip bread in. It's absolutely delicious, and it's just got a bunch of carrots in it. It's carrots and onion and garlic and tomatoes. You just cook that all down, and then take a stick blender to it. You can add basil or herbs if you want to, but it's really, really simple. It doesn't take a lot. I don't even put salt and pepper in it because I like to season that later in the process. Okay, these are thick jalapenos. I think I'm only going to put like half of this in there because I don't want to hurt you guys. But there is going to be a lot of tomatoes into this sauce. So if we decide, I'll taste it, and I can always put some in later if I decide. But we'll save you guys the pain of my obsession. So I'm just rinsing off my cutting board to get most of that jalapeno juice. I don't want to accidentally add more than I just decided to add. And cross-contamination on the cutting board is going to be the main way that will happen. I don't want my eggplant to all of a sudden be jalapeno seasoned. So I've got my peppers in there. You can see it's already starting to look really pretty. I love that color combination. Oh my god, this is going to be really good, guys. I love this fish so much. Ooh, those jalapenos are a little spicy. I can smell them. One of the things about hot peppers is they get spicier the less you take care of them. Most vegetables you want to water a lot. You want to make sure you get really nice plump produce. Tomatoes especially. If you hit a really hard rain, they'll plump up so much that they split, and you're like, oh, that's how you know they're really, really good. Hot peppers, if you want them hot, you want to ignore them. You almost want to kill them because when they get incredibly freaked out, they supercharge their fruiting bodies, the peppers themselves, with all the chemicals that pepper is going to need to survive. And one of the chemicals that peppers use to survive is the capsaicin that stops mammals from eating them. They only want the birds to eat them because the birds can't digest the seeds. The seeds then get flung far and wide, and that genetic legacy continues on. So when they're really freaking out, they feel pretty positive their plant body is going to die. They supercharge that fruit with all the chemicals they possibly can get. If that plant thinks it's going to survive because it's been getting a lot of water, it's not going to care as much about its offspring. It's going to be like, I'll survive through the winter. It doesn't understand the winter's coming, obviously. That wasn't a Game of Thrones reference. Is that Game of Thrones, right? Yeah, that's Game of Thrones. I haven't watched that in a long time. But So usually the best peppers that I've ever had as far as spice are concerned come from drought season. Any summer where we don't get a lot of rain, like this summer, you usually have a pepper that's really, really intense and spicy, and those smell like that might be what we're at. So I'm happy I didn't put that in there, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I think we're all going to be better for it. But it's a good sign for me and my canning efforts because I'm making a lot of hot pepper jelly this year, and that means that my hot pepper jelly is going to be really, really, really powerful. I make a hot pepper jelly, for those of you that are spice heads, it is more like an applesauce. I use local apples and habaneros, and I just mix them together with a little bit of apple cider vinegar and sugar. I don't use pectin because there's so much apple and pepper fiber in there that it's thick without needing the pectin. There's that, like each teaspoon has about an entire habanero in it after it's been cooked down. It's very, very spicy. It's very, very sweet. It's absolutely delicious. And I'll be making it probably in 2 weeks. I get my hot peppers from IGI, and they have an apple tree that is in their front yard that I'm going to ask them today if I can pick the apples from. And if I get a yes, it'll be happening this week. If I get a no, I have to go find apples somewhere else. But if I get a yes, I'm definitely making a big batch. It is so delicious. It's incredibly spicy, but it has just this lovely sweet apple flavor. I feel like the apple kind of takes away some of the intense spiciness of the peppers. Habaneros in general have this very sweet, almost fruity flavor, and anytime you mix them with other sweet fruity things, including sweet fruit, the flavor tends to get, the spice rather, tends to get a little bit muddled in a good way. These are great. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's put this eggplant in there. Eggplant looks like a lot, but that's going to cook down. Eggplant is mostly air. It's a very squishy vegetable, so once it cooks down, it really loses a lot of volume. Not as much as like spinach would, but I'm not too worried about this. Like I said, I'm going to try and fill this thing up. I want to make sure we all have enough of that nice sauce to go around. I am going to finally salt this. I didn't salt it when I put the onions in there because I knew I was going to be cutting, so I didn't want them to break down too fast. But the eggplant is going to love salt. Eggplant is really good at absorbing moisture. It's basically like a big edible sponge. If you try and like grill eggplant and they're on the top and you're like salt and peppering and oiling your bowl, if you don't mix it really fast, your oil is going to disappear. You're not going to have any. So I always put my eggplant on the bottom when I'm doing big bowls for like grilling, just because of that. It's a very, very absorptive, whatever the word is. And I'm not going to bother with these. They're fairly skinny anyways, and that's usually the toughest part of the eggplant. So I'm just gonna. That's about the right portion anyways. Mix that up. Go ahead and put some salt and pepper in there. Get it started. Not always, but you usually want to do a little bit of seasoning as you go, just to make sure everything has a chance. And salt especially is really important here because it's going to help us to release our moisture and start to create our sauce. We are going to obviously have a lot of tomatoes that we're going to put in there. That's going to create a really, really nice sauce. But if we can get these vegetables sort of getting their juice out before... This pepper grinder is not very good. That's okay. We've got jalapenos in there. We don't need that much pepper. All right, awesome. And we'll take a peek at what that seasoning has done once this cooks down a little bit more. Just make sure that everything's seasoned before I toss all the tomatoes in there. But that's starting to look really good. Oh yeah. I mean, we're really just making at this point a ratatouille, and that's okay. That's things are going to change drastically from ratatouille to shakshuka when we put our cinnamon, our paprika, and our cumin in there. Those are not things that you generally are putting in a ratatouille. So paprika, by the way, is literally just sweet peppers. That's what paprika means, is pepper. And it took me a really long time to realize that. It's not like a particular pepper necessary. I think this brand does have like a pepper on it, so maybe they do use a particular pepper, but it's basically any red pepper. And red is sort of the end result of every sweet pepper. When you buy yellow or orange or green ones, you're just buying different stages of the ripeness of that pepper. So that's going pretty good. Yeah, nice and hot. Okay, great, cool. I'm gonna start cutting up these tomatoes then. I got this big bowl so I could cut a whole bunch of them up into this bowl before I had to put them in the pot. And I have 4 different types of tomatoes here. I have orange and red Romas. These are really important because they're a lot more full of fiber. There's not many seeds or juice in here. If you're seeding or juicing your tomatoes, you don't need these. They have a lot less flavor than the normal field tomatoes do, but they're really good for the fiber. And so since I don't want to bother wasting time seeding and juicing them, I'm using these to thicken my sauce, add some fiber. These are basically going to work like a tomato paste would if I was making this from like cans. If you are making this from cans, I highly suggest putting a little bit of tomato paste in there just to make the sauce a little bit thicker, a little bit more rich. It's not going to hurt if you just use canned tomatoes, but it's tomato paste is sort of like the roux to tomato sauces. It thickens a tomato sauce, and it's going to just have a better flavor. You know, if we make like a tomato soup and we poach the eggs in that, it's going to be good. It's not going to taste bad, but that mouthfeel, that mouth texture is something that we're going for sure. So I'm just going to cut these into really big chunks. Tomatoes are going to break down really, really well. I just don't want too many big skin pieces, so I'm going to cut those up, you know, mostly all the way. And for these, I'm cutting off the end. With the big tomatoes, I'll core them, but for aromas, I usually just cut the end off. It's not usually worth your time, unless you're canning them. If you're canning them, I will usually core them just because I want to have as much of that tomato as possible. And it just looks better in the can too if you've got whole aromas without their tops cut off. Whoops, what am I doing? You on that side. Oh yeah. Should probably make sure these are good. I really like these orange tomatoes. It's something new that I mean, they've grown them in the past, but it's something new that they've done these Romas this year. And I made an orange marinara the other day to put in a butternut squash lasagna. Butternut squash is out already, guys. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but it's it definitely needs more time to cure. I can say, having eaten it, it's not quite as sweet as it will be in a couple months, but it's fun to know that it's available and out there. It's really, I love me some squash. So, all right, let's make sure we don't burn this. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Eggplant's starting to get soft. Everything's getting together. I'm just gonna try this and make sure that my seasoning's okay. Perfect. I'll end up putting some more salt in later, just to bring it together, but I want to make sure I get the tomatoes in before I do that. And that's got enough salt in it, that it's, man, that's good. It's literally just vegetables right now. It's so good. Nothing like using fresh vegetables. It really like just takes everything to another level. If you can, it's always worthwhile to go and buy the vegetables, even if it's just from the grocery store and not a farm. But obviously, using local produce like this it just feels like it's good for your soul. Every time I eat like a fresh tomato that's like right from the field, I don't know, it just makes me so happy. I mentioned that I go to IGI, get their CSA, and one of the things they've been doing this year is letting us go and pick our own tomatoes. And so I've made it my responsibility to eat every single split tomato that I see while I'm out there. So I usually go up to the desk after I have all my herbs and veggies, and I just have like my belly full, complaining, but it's the best kind of complaining. There's a lot of split tomatoes. We had a really crazy rain, not that crazy, but we had a rain right before Thursday, which is our pickup day, last week, and there were a lot of split tomatoes. Like, it was a task. I felt like I was personally responsible for eating every single one of them, and I didn't succeed, but it's okay. I was okay with my failure. They're so good, and those are sun golds and little mini Romas, which are really cool. I like those ones a lot for canning as well. You usually want to take the skin off of tomatoes when you're canning them, because that's where most of the dangerous molds can be. They can hurt you. You don't want to get. All right, yeah, this is good. All right, we're gonna put our spices in now. So we're gonna put a good amount of cumin. I believe I said 1 tablespoon. Teaspoon. All right, cool. We'll keep to that. We'll keep to that. So I love cumin. Like, I love cumin. So that's 1 teaspoon. That's 2 teaspoons. That's 3 teaspoons. That's 4 teaspoons. We'll stick with that for now. Some paprika. Again, 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoon, 3 teaspoon, 4 teaspoon. I've got some cinnamon. This I am going to actually follow the directions because I do not want this to taste like Christmas. I just want a little bit because it's a really nice flavor. It's something you're going to taste this and be like, what is that? And I found this garlic and herb seasoning in our cabinet here, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. It's got garlic, onion, carrot, tomato, pepper, mustard, lemon peel, and Yeah, lemon peel. So it's got a little bit of acid to it, which I like. It's got some herbs. This is kind of just me being like, use what you have. Like, it doesn't matter. I really think that it's going to add a nice little, like, just extra bit of spice. I'm not putting too much in there, just a little bit to get us rocking. Mix that all up. So the reason I put the spices in now is I want the onions and the eggplant and the peppers to absorb that spiced flavor. And then I'm going to put the tomatoes in there, and tomatoes are going to take some of that back out of them, but the tomatoes are going to end up being seasoned by the herbs. So the tomatoes are going to take the herbs and carry that flavor with them, and these veggies are going to take the spices and carry that flavor with them. So that's why I put them in that order. It's not going to hurt if you put it all in at the end or all in at the beginning, but for herbs especially, I like to add them later if possible. And that's cooking down really, really well. I'm going to go ahead and put my tomatoes in there, start getting us properly shakshuka. Oh, this is going to be so good, guys. Okay, so those are mostly the high fiber tomatoes. So now we're going to jump into the more juicy ones. This is where we're going to start seeing our actual sauce come together. And again, I'm just doing the exact same thing as before, just big chunks. The biggest thing I want to worry about here is pieces of skin. I don't want like a really like long piece of skin, because you go to eat it and have to slurp it up like pasta or something like that. So as long as I'm cutting these into small enough pieces, it should be fine. They're going to cook down so much. Tomatoes really don't last very long when they're so juicy. This isn't the sharpest knife in the world, but I usually always try and cut tomatoes skin side up if I can. I just find that it's a little bit easier for me. It's just an insane amount of juice. I flipped my knife over there, if you saw, just to straighten my board. If you don't do that, you will likely end up dulling your knife. And this knife is fairly cheap, so it's not big of a problem, but I do like to have it sharp if I can. I'm going to go ahead and just core these all right now, I guess. And so when I'm coring these, I'm using the tip of the knife, and I'm rotating the tomato, not my knife. That usually keeps you in safety, or away from the knife, essentially. If I'm putting too much pressure on my knife, if I slip, I'm going right into my hand. But if I use the tomato to apply the pressure instead, I'm usually in a little bit safer. So all I'm doing with the knife is going up and down to create, sort of sawing motion. And then the tomato is creating the pressure that allows that to rotate and cut it out. And if you have, there are little cores, like little melon ballers you can use that work really well on tomatoes for taking out the core as well. There's all sorts of fun tools for this. But for me, tip of a knife is the way to go. You can use a smaller knife too if you're more comfortable with that, a paring knife, but I've done this a couple times, so this baby is my best friend. I'm a big guy, and ever since I got in kitchens, I've always used knives that are way too big for the task at hand. I have a paring knife, and I use it sometimes, mostly for like doing garnishes and stuff, but a knife about this size is probably the thing that I feel most comfortable with doing just about everything. My chefs tried to get me out of that habit, but I just like a big knife. I don't know. It makes me feel like I have more control. I can use different parts of it. Like for this knife, the tip is a little bit curved, so I can do some rock chopping. This part's flat, so I can do push chopping. And then for the tip, I basically have a paring knife. And that's actually in really high-end professional kitchens. Having a knife that can do everything is usually a sign that person's the head chef, because that head chef needs to jump in at every station and do everything. So they need a knife that can do everything. I don't really have an ego in that way, but I do like to be able to do everything, and so that's why I have a knife that can usually do everything. And there's purpose-driven knives that are just flat or like super rocked for doing chopped, and then obviously you have your paring knife that's very small for doing fine work. But for me, I'm an all-rounder kind of guy. Like I'm a master of a few things, but sort of jack of all trades. Oh my god, this is going to be really good. I can already smell that cinnamon. Some of you guys in the front might be as well. But we just I gotta rush through these chops, get these tomatoes in there before we can start really appreciating this. And it's already starting to get juicy. It started pretty dry. Things were maybe sticking to the bottom, but I can see there's a little layer of liquid that's starting to work its way up from the bottom as these tomatoes break down. And that's exactly what we're looking at. If you don't have a very sharp knife, I'm not sure you guys saw that, you can use the tip to create a line and then use that to cut through. That way you're not dealing with as much surface tension on the tomato. You won't crush it as much. For this situation, I'm not really that concerned with crushing, but it's kind of fun to see different techniques. So I'll just show you that again. Use the tip, which is generally the sharpest part of the knife. Not much is going to resist this, even if it's dull, just because it's a small point with lots of pressure. And then once you get that first line in there, you can use the flat of the knife to cut right through, no problem, without crushing it. And you can go ahead and like pre-cut your lines. Back in my morning glory days in the kitchen, we had not very many sharp knives. And so this is a technique I learned when we used to have to cook tomato pie, which is a really, really fabulous dinner or dessert. I think it might be showing up when we do the patron series, because somebody suggested a tart already, and I think I might do a tomato tart. It's a really intense recipe. It's got mayonnaise in it and eggs and so much cheese. But it's just tomatoes baked with mayonnaise and cheese in a pie crust, and it is absolutely delicious. But we used to have to cut a lot of tomatoes, and we do tomato slices. And they'd usually be seconds like this that are kind of squishy. So my chef at the time taught me this technique, and you know, occasionally I'll use it. If I'm slicing tomatoes thin like that nowadays, I'll usually use a serrated knife. I like a serrated knife a lot for doing tomato slices specifically, because you just have a lot of control and it cuts through the skin absolutely no problem whatsoever. Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm just going to put all these in there. I'm going to stir it one more time, but I think it can take it. The only thing that will stop me is if I get to the top and I literally run out of space. So let's see what we can do. Oops, making a mess. Oh, we're getting close. It's gonna be good. And I'm not worried about stirring this too much. I want everything to break down. Like we cut things in decent sizes so they'd be able to stay chunky, but I'm okay if I don't have a lot of chunks in here. Like I just want it to be a little bit chunky. Like I'm not gonna take a stick blender to this. Though you can, if you like it smoother and you have a stick blender, or even, you know, if you want to like take some of it out, put it in the stand blender and then put that sauce back in, that can get it a lot smoother for you. Did I see a question in the back? No, okay, cool. Sweet, let's keep rocking. I gotta get my honing steel in here for this knife. I think it's been through a couple too many disasters with other chefs. This is the entire staff's knife, so. Just gonna cut out that bit right there. That won't break down, you know, and I'll eat that. Like, that's not something I'm afraid of. I love even like the core of the tomato. I generally will eat every single part of it. But I don't want you guys to have to deal with that. You don't have to be crazy like me. I like eating skins and roots and, you know, all the weird parts because I just hate waste. But we're not really wasting these right now. These were already bound for the composter, so get over here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna crank this all the way up. See if we can get a nice simmer on this. I think we're gonna make it, guys. I don't want to dilute the garlic and onions too much, so I might not put those ones in there. I'm gonna give this another stir and check out our sort of ratio of vegetables to tomato. I think you can take it. Cool. I'm just looking, like, I see onion, I see pepper, I see onion and pepper. They're not too far apart, so I think we have enough of them in there that it can take the rest of these tomatoes. And it's just going to be nice and clean. If we use them all anyways, I don't have any sitting around that I already gutted up.
Chris, could you make a big pot of that? Just freeze it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you yeah, 100%. I mean, I do that with my tomato sauce all the time. We can it, but same basically. You would have to like shakshuka a lot to freeze this specifically for a shakshuka, but this is, at this stage, again, we haven't seasoned it yet, really, apart from like base seasonings. This is more ratatouille than shakshuka right now. So, you know, freezing it in this stage, and then you can take it out and season it for what you need it for. You know, if you want to season it for pasta, put some basil in there more. If you're going shakshuka, I guess I take it back. We did put the cumin in there, but you could have not put the cumin in there and stored this, you know, as like a base for any sort of tomato you might need. But yeah, definitely, it freezes really good. Tomatoes are amazing, especially tomato sauce freezes really, really well. Canning tomatoes can be really dangerous. So if you have freezer space, I would suggest freezing them instead. Freeze your tomato sauce. You can put it right in like gallon bags. and then even just warm it up in hot water. You don't even have to like take it out and mess up a pot. You can use a pot of hot water to heat it up and get it ready for your pasta. But yes, this will freeze incredibly well. In fact, honestly, I think after freezing it might taste better. When you freeze things, the fiber tends to break down first, because unless the freezing process is very fast, as they freeze, you're essentially sort of cooking it as it freezes and the cells change. So that can actually be really good to sort of break this down even further than the cooking would, and then makes the flavors meld a lot more as well. And then during the thawing process, again, things are going to thaw at different temperatures, and so you get sort of this slow thawing process where the flavors start to like mingle with each other in different ways than they did when you were cooking them. So I do like freezing tomato sauce. I just love tomato sauce, period. So having the thought of having it at a finger's like notice when I just have like some toast that I really want to dip in it, like, is good to me. I want that. So yeah, it would work great. You could just put it right in a pan, heat it back up, crack some eggs in there, and you got shakshuka in no time. But for me, shakshuka tends to be a fridge clean out item. I make shakshuka when I have some tomatoes that maybe have been sitting on the counter too long. Don't refrigerate your tomatoes, by the way. Cover them so you don't get flies, but don't put them in the refrigerator. Not required most of the time, and they'll usually last a lot longer on the counter. But if I have one that's been sitting on the counter too long, maybe some flies came by or something, I'll cut that bit out and I'll cook it, on like a Sunday with whatever I can find in the fridge, whatever leftovers are around, whatever meat I can find, basically anything I can get my hands on, I'll put in the shakshuka. Let's season this again. I'm going to put some salt in there because I know I'm going to need it, and then we'll take a little peek at what we're tasting like. Unfortunately, I don't have any kosher right now, but this stuff will be fine. And we get iodine now, which is great. It's a necessary nutrient. It says it right there. All right, let's see. I'm just going to keep with the salt right now. I think that pepper grinder hates me, so we'll just take a peek and see what we're looking at for salt. We aren't going to season our eggs when we put them in here, so we want to make sure the sauce is seasoned enough. But we are going to put some ricotta salata on top, and that is a little bit salty, so we don't have to worry too much about seasoning. Generally, you're going to over-season sauces if you are putting them on pasta or any sort of protein. With proteins, you'll usually be seasoning the protein as well, but you generally want to over-season your sauce so that the thing that you're putting the sauce on gets seasoned by sort of proximity. So I'm going to make this a little saltier than I normally would. Let's see. That's pretty good. I'm going to do a little more salt. I'm going to put more cumin in too, just a little bit. I'm going to put some more cumin in there because I'm not tasting it as much as I would like to. This is really good though. I think it's one of the main sort of flavors that I really like. I think I put a little more tomato than I had planned on, and that's going to be okay though. But I do want some extra cumin in there. For me, this is the flavor that really, like, when I eat it, it screams to me, I'm eating shakshuka. That and the spice too, but I'm not trying to kill everybody here, so. No spice pain for anybody unless you want to introduce it to yourself. Oh yeah, this is gonna be great. You used that one already. Yep, that's better. Oh, that's good. Okay, we're gonna get our herbs ready for later. Salt's good. I think most of my spices are good. Get this out of the way. So this is oregano. There were a bunch of different herbs that I saw at Morning Glory. I was about this close from putting mint in here, which I think would have been a lot of fun, but I've never done it before. I didn't want to test, as much as I love experimenting, I didn't want to test that out on all of you guys. I guarantee mint is going to be delicious in here, but it's leaning way more into that sweet tomato sauce that I kind of grew up with. It's definitely more my favorite flavor palette. I didn't want to force that on all of you guys, so I didn't get any mint, but I can't suggest it enough. If you like mint as a herb, put it in here. I also didn't feel right buying mint. It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. So I think that was also sort of an influence to that. But in general, you can choose any herbs. Whatever herbs are your favorite, put them in. But you want herbs. You want a lot of herbs. I'm going to put an entire bunch of oregano in here. And if I wasn't trying to save some of you from cilantro, I put an entire bunch of cilantro as well. You really, really want a lot of herbs. Herbs are, apart from the cumin, they're sort of the thing that make this dish and what makes it unique to you. Whatever herbs you choose to put in here are going to make it your shakshuka, and they're going to really shine and give you some nice flavor. So I chose oregano, which is actually pushing us kind of back towards the ratatouille zone. If I put any, I would almost grab basil too, and I was like, no, we're doing North Africa. So oregano is close enough. There's a lot of different herbs in the world that have an oregano flavor. And an oregano are called oregano. You've got Mexican marigold is one of them, and dang, my brain's not working, but there are others as well that have that same sort of like earthy, herby flavor. So you'll find herbs like this in various different cultures that aren't necessarily called oregano, but this is what we've got because this is what Morning Glory had available, and it smells really nice. It's not too oppressive. Dried oregano can actually be really, really intense. It's a much more sort of, I'm looking for, juicy, I guess, kind of herb. The leaves are fairly thick, so when you dry it, a lot of that, those oils that are what make it taste good, really, really concentrate in. So for me, at least, it's very easy to sort of over season with dried oregano. But for fresh oregano, I feel like I can never put enough in. Maybe it's because I really like it, but I love these little fat leaves, especially. And I'm going to chop this up pretty good. I don't want you guys to have to get too little pieces of oregano stuck in your teeth. So, but I do want that flavor in there. So I'm just going to double check that I don't have too many thick stems in here. Yeah, that should be good. Anytime you're chopping herbs, you want to have a really sharp knife. I have a mostly sharp knife. So I'm going to do the next best thing, which is chop them as little as possible. And the best way to chop herbs as little as possible, but still get them very small, is to make sure that you have them all bunched up. That way you're cutting through as much of the herb as possible with each slice, and you can also keep your slices nice and thin. If this is all over the cutting board and I'm cutting like this, it's going to take me a long time, first of all, but I'm also going to bruise the herbs. And sometimes that's something you want. You want to get bruising on your herbs, but we don't want that. We want nice, fresh flavor. So what you want to do is, generally, if you can, you want to bundle them all up. If you're doing like basil or something, you can take a nice big leaf and sort of stack them all together. But for oregano, you don't really have that sort of option. So I'm just going to try and get them as much together as possible, keep them together, and then I'm going to treat them like I'm cutting, a pepper or something very thin. I'm going to keep my fingers off. I'm just going to run my knife through them in as small a pieces as possible. I'm trying to basically chiffonading these, cutting very, very thin strips, and I'm going to try and keep that bundle together the whole time. Get those in there, so that I don't bruise the herbs too badly. I'm still going to bruise them. There's no way to avoid it. And I'm slicing these. I'm not just chopping them. Again, because I know this knife isn't very sharp. If this knife was sharper, I'd be able to chop them more, and I probably wouldn't bruise them as much because the knife would go right through them. Bruising happens when the knife doesn't cut all the way through and you're basically crushing the herb instead of cutting it. If I had something that was a little more together, I would just turn this pile, but I'm just going to turn the cutting board, and I'm going to do the same thing, bring it back together in a pile, and then come back through here and just do very, very small cuts. And this should get me diced herb, or at least diced enough that you're not going to have a big piece in your mouth when you go to eat it. So not too bad. It's not going to be on a line at a fancy restaurant, that's for sure, but that's okay. We don't have to worry about that today. So I'm going to put that over to the side. That is going to go into this once this gets a chance to cook down a little bit more. Tomatoes are nice. Once you get heat to them, they tend to break down pretty fast. I maybe cut that piece a little too big, but that's okay. If you guys get that, you get free entry to the next program. It's already free, so you don't get that much, but you're welcome to come if you don't sign up in time. So I'll just take some time now and just chunk these up with my little spatula here. This is one of my favorite tools that we have here in the library. I have one at home. Actually, I have 3 at home. A flat top wooden spatula is just so useful for everything. This one's a little thin, which is unfortunate because I do like to put a pretty good lever on it when I'm stirring things. Hasn't snapped yet though. I snapped 2 at home, so I just always fill my pots too much. It's a problem maybe. I'm very happy with this one though. We didn't overflow. We used all the tomatoes. Had a good vibe for it. Yeah, I might have got a little lazy there at the end, guys. Sheesh. Quality control. Got to talk to my chef. All right, awesome. I have You know, I'm gonna put a little lid on this, just see if I can get that temperature up a little bit faster. Yeah, basil would be great. Basil, definitely nothing wrong with basil. Basil definitely puts us more into like an Italian or ratatouille zone. But all it takes to be shakshuka is for it to have eggs cooked in it. So, yeah, basil would be great. I love basil. I think especially basil and oregano together would be amazing. And that cumin and paprika are still in there, sort of pulling it back, in the cinnamon, pulling it back towards the North African flavors. But so cilantro, for me, cilantro, cumin, paprika, cinnamon is the best. That's my favorite. That's what I would put in here every single time. I would just do 2 bunches of cilantro. I wouldn't even mess with the oregano. Like, I love cilantro. I'm sorry for all of you that can't eat it. You are seriously missing out. It's so good. So cilantro is really fun. It is probably one of the easiest herbs to to chop. You get a nice bunch like this with the stems. Cilantro stems are amazing. They're tasty. They're crunchy. They are very tender. One of my Mexican chefs told me never cut them off. You can cut them off if you want to. I'm not going to. One of the reasons I like having them is you can bunch your herbs and fold them over the top, and they create a very nice sort of barrier that keep the herbs together for chopping. So that's one of the reasons why I like to keep them in there. I also like the texture. They're a little crunchy, and they're very tender. As far as stems go on herbs, the stems of cilantro are probably some of the best. I am not opposed to eating just cilantro stems chopped up on top of something. It gives you sort of like a scallion-esque cilantro vibe. They're crunchy, but they still have all the same flavor that the leaf has as well. So I really, really like them quite a lot. God, it smells so good. Yeah, so cilantro, I've been eating a lot of cilantro and basil, Thai basil specifically, because we're allowed to pick as much as we want when I pick up my CSA. So I've been making like beef, just like sauteed beef with onions and peppers, and I'll put an entire bunch of cilantro and an entire bunch of basil on top, and it's just, it feels decadent. Herbs are really good for you also. Generally, if you're going to pick a green to eat, herbs are probably the best one to choose. You know, dark greens, kale and chard and collard greens are all going to be good for you, but per like ounce, herbs have some of the most vitamins of any other green. They're one of the few greens that hasn't really been sort of modified for production. You can't really make them grow more without removing the flavor. And there are herbs that don't have a lot of flavor. A lot of supermarket dill specifically tends to not really taste like anything because they've been sort of modifying it for production. But the variety of dill that's grown on the island at the farms we have here is not that dill. It's insane how delicious and flavorful it is. But I've seen the plants grow and they don't produce as much, nearly as much. They're not as bushy, but man, the flavor is amazing. It's almost a little bit sweet. If you haven't had dill from one of the farms around here recently, I highly suggest getting some. Put it next to supermarket dill. You'll never go back. You'll be so sad in the winter when you can't get it. I just don't eat dill in the winter because of that. It's really, really tasty, and that's because it hasn't been modified for production. It is sort of the original. It's got the flavor, and herbs are the vitamins that you need. You know, the reason they taste good is because they have oils and vitamins that are in really high quantities, and that flavor means sort of health for you as well, if you need those vitamins, which most of us do, to be honest. How are we looking? Let's see. Okay, I'm done with these. I'm gonna start making some toast because I have like 24 pieces to make, and so I want to make sure we're good. This is almost ready for me to start poaching. The tomato sauce doesn't have to be completely cooked at this point. It is almost done. I'm gonna take a look at stir because it is gonna cook more in the pan while I poach the tomatoes. So I'm going to keep this going on the side here, and I'm going to start poaching eggs, and we are going to be eating here, guys. I think pretty good time. It's about an hour, not bad. We're going to be eating here in probably about like 15 minutes. I'm going to do 6 at a time. I think there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, perfect. There's, I think, exactly 24 of you. So it'll be batches. We'll start in the back and then work our way forward. So 6 people in the back will be the first ones to eat, and then the next 6 and the next 6. You guys are pretty good people, so I'm not too worried about it. Nobody's going to run over each other. If somebody's really hungry in the front, by all means, make sure you come up and get food. We're here to make everybody happy and hungry, and less hungry. So this is smelling perfect. What was that, sir?
You can do that.
Yeah, exactly. So if I was on like a line, like a kitchen line, I'd either have this in a low boy chilled, or I'd have it, if I thought I was going to make a lot of shakshuka, like I was doing it for a special, I'd have it on my line, probably staying hot in the background. And I'd be doing exactly what I'm going to be doing right now. I'd be taking ladles of it into pans. I'd probably be doing one ladle into one pan and then cracking 1 or 2 eggs in there, putting some cheese on the top and covering it. We're going to do that kind of, but we're going to, we're going to hack it a little bit because I don't have a big enough burner here. But I am going to go ahead and just take some of this. I'm going to taste it one more time just to make sure that it's as delicious as I remember. Oops, that's the wrong one. It's getting really nice and hot now too, which is exactly what I want. Okay, cool. So I need to do this 4 times. So I'm going to take about 1/4 of what's in here and put it into my pot. You can start to see the texture of it. It's a little bit thinner than I want it to be, but that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. We have a lot of chunks in there on purpose so that we can rest our eggs on top of that. I do want to have a decent amount here because I'm going to have 6 eggs, which means I'm going to have to take out 6 pieces of sort of juice and sauce to go with that. Mise en place is really important. It means everything in its place, and I didn't everything in its place my spoon that I'm going to use to serve this with. Lay it on you. Oh, there it is. Nice. Okay, cool. Perfect. Just wanted to make sure I had it. So I want to make some little wells in the chunks of vegetables that are in here. I'm going to go one more. Yeah, just maybe half. Okay, cool. I'm going to make some wells in these chunks. Just that's where my eggs are going to land. So I'm going to do 5 around the outside and then 1 in the center. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You're basically just trying to make a place for your egg to land. You don't want this boiling. I want it kind of poaching. So we'll put it at about 5. We'll see how that goes. We're going to get some eggs. I did want to get some local eggs, but unfortunately they were out. We're still sort of recovering from the massive... Oh. Hopefully somebody likes their bread a little burnt. That's crazy. I just put that on like midway. We'll just start stacking those up. I'm just going to keep making toast, and you guys will be able to pick the pieces that you want. Turn that down a little bit though. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of herbs in here now. Forgot that step. See, I'm always so good at this. I'm going to put some in there now as well. Don't want to forget them though. That's the oregano. And then cilantro will be a garnish for you all. Don't want to forget it though. It's going to add a really nice earthy depth to this, and it's also going to make it look beautiful. It's going to have all those green specks in it. And this one up at max, beautiful. Oh yeah. Okay, make our wells again. And if your sauce is a little bit thicker, this is the wells hold up a little bit better, but this is going to be just fine. And we're going to crack some eggs in there. So 6 eggs in the first one. If I was poaching these in water, and I'll show you guys this next program, I would be cracking them into a little ramekin first, but I'm not really too worried about these being like perfect little egg containers. I kind of just want to get them in here. So I'm just going to crack them really close to the sauce. That'll make sure that the egg doesn't spread too much. I use my middle finger to break the shell, and then spread with the ring finger and the pointer. And then practice, honestly. Practice. You get on a line and you got to break 100 eggs in half an hour, you just figure out how to do it. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on there, and we'll take a look at what that looks like in about 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to get our last garnish done. I've got this really nice ricotta salata. It's actually kind of cheap, which I like. It's cheaper than feta. I mean, you can buy like really cheap feta, but this is, I got this from Morning Glory as well. I don't know where it's grown from. It's probably from Italy, honestly, but it's fairly cheap, and it's really, really tasty. It's essentially a less salty feta, which I'm all here for. Usually, when I'm cooking this at home, I end up putting feta. How is this still? I'm not saying that's not bad. I'm gonna turn it down even more though. At home, I usually will use like a a feta or a cojita or cotilla. Still don't know exactly how you say that word. I think it's cotilla or cojita cheese. Any sort of good crumbling cheese is usually going to be exactly what you're looking for this dish. You want it to be able to melt as well. You'll crumble it on top of the eggs when you're done. They'll start to melt in there. You'll mix it into the sauce, and it'll make the sauce almost like a vodka sauce or like a creamy tomato sauce. And it's just really good. I love sort of creamy cheeses with really acidic tomato dishes. And I believe there's no rind on this, so we can just crumble the entire thing, which is what I'm going to do.
Yes, it's ricotta.
Salata, which I think literally just means salad ricotta. And so it's ricotta that you would use for a lasagna. For those of you who don't do bechamel, I'm a ricotta guy. I did hear about somebody who did ricotta and bechamel, which I feel sounds great. I might have to do that next time I make lasagna. But for those of you that are ricotta, you're fairly familiar with it, but it's a very juicy cheese. So they essentially take that, they put it in a cheesecloth, they dehydrate it, and you end up with something like this. So it's similar flavor to ricotta, but texture closer to like a farmer's cheese or a feta. It's actually firmer than feta, which I really like. If you eat this fast, you'll get some really nice texture. But if you let it sit, it'll melt, which is also nice. It's a really, really fun cheese. I don't see it often, so I was really excited when I got to see it at Morning Glory and buy it for today. So I'm happy to be able to bring this to you guys. Probably should have set a timer, but whatever. It takes about 5 minutes, depending on how you like your eggs, basically. If you like them more runny, it takes about basically no time at all. But if you, I'm going to cook them till we get the tops get a nice sort of like white covering on them. What we're doing right now with the lid is we're making sure that steam gathers up in there. The steam is going to cook the top of the eggs while the tomatoes cook the sides and the bottom of the egg. And hopefully at the end of our time, we will we'll have a really nice poached egg that still has a little bit of runny yolk. Is there anybody that doesn't want runny yolk? Okay, cool. For those of you that don't want runny yolk, I am sorry, but I'm going to cook your eggs last. Okay, just because I want to make sure that they. I'm going to cook them harder and longer. So, just you guys just make sure you come up for the last batch. Those will be all the well done eggs. And then for everybody else, I think these eggs are probably almost done. I'm going to take a little peek though. You can see the steam coming out of the side. I don't want to break the steam if I can help it, so that's why I'm waiting. My brain's like, check it out. But you want to wait if you can. That steam is doing really important work right now. So. Come on. All right, so this is going to be self-serve for your accoutrements here. Just keep in mind, for those of you who get to go first, there are 24 people here. So try and take what you want, take what you need, but just remember that there are other people that will be coming after you that might want the same thing. So just going to pop those over there, get you guys a nice little line here. Quick peek. Oh, we got plenty of time. Okay, cool. Why are you not gonna? There we go. Let's get a better seal on this. I don't think I had a good seal. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna get a bigger plate for all of these toasts. It's jalapenos, cilantro, and that is the ricotta salata, the ricotta cheese. Don't think I need to chop anything else. I'm going to give you guys whole pieces of toast. Just keep making those. Awesome. Sweet. So I did take the eggs out of the fridge on purpose to try and get them more room temperature. If you take them right out of the fridge, they just take longer to cook because you have to get over that heat barrier. You have to heat them from cold to edible, basically. And I think I'm dealing with a little bit of that right now, but I'm going to go ahead and spread these ones out and get them sort of warming up as well so they cook a little bit faster. Sweet, yeah, they're still pretty cold. Not gonna open that again until it's done. Usually when I'm planning these programs, I try and avoid this entirely. The time where I'm sitting here and I'm not doing anything with my hands. It makes me feel like I'm just like, I should do something, to entertain you guys. Does anybody want to play a game? So I am going to be going to the NELA conference, which is the New England Library Association conference, coming up in October. And I'm going to be presenting there on gaming in libraries. So I've been running, for those of you who don't know, I run a D&D program here at the library for our teens. And that's actually finally the perfect host. And so one of the things that was really hard, not hard, but one of the things I learned as I played that is sort of how to run a game for kids that don't really care about the rules and just want to have fun. And so what I'm presenting on at this conference is sort of ignoring the rules and focusing more on the story and having fun. And so if you guys want to be test subjects, we could play a little game right now. I won't ask everybody to participate. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. You can see that there's nice white tops. That means that the heat has gotten around. Where's my spoon? Where did you go, spoon? Found it. The heat has created enough steam here to cook it. I'm just going to check. They seem to be nice and solid. That's what we're looking for. Nice runny yolk right there. That should be good. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to start plating these for our first 6. Feel free to come on up, guys. The sauce is nice and hot. If you don't like a runny yolk, I know you guys are already said that you did, but if the yolk's a little too runny for you, pop it, mix it into the sauce. The sauce is really hot. It'll cook that yolk in no time. The only reason why it hasn't cooked completely now is that it's been sort of insulated by its white. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this egg and a nice amount of that sauce right on top. There we go. Come on in from the back, guys. Grab the first 6, and then I'll start my next 6.
Sorry.
You're good. Feel free to take some toast if you want it. And just be careful, it is hot. It is hot, 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 hot. And these bowls are not super well insulated, so the bottom might get a little hot on you. If you want a second bowl, I'm actually going to put a stack out. If you're worried and want a second bowl, please do not be afraid to grab one. I don't want you guys to get burned. That is the most important thing, is that we are safe. So, oh, this smells so good. Of course. All right, starting our second batch.
That's good, Chris.
Thanks.
So you're worried about the acid in the cast iron pan?
I'm not going to store it. It's not going to be in here for long enough. That's a good question, though. I was asked if I was worried about the acid in the cast iron, and normally I would be if I was going to be cooking this sauce for a really, really long time. But it's only going to be in there for about 10 minutes. So some iron will come off into this, but that means you guys are getting more iron in your diet today. I would never, ever, ever store tomato sauce in a cast iron pan for longer than an hour. Hey, you made it! Awesome. In general, you just don't want the acid will start to digest the iron. You'll get a lot of iron in your food, which is not bad. We do need iron to survive. It's one of the reasons why I like cooking with cast iron. Is you get a little extra iron in your diet. But you don't want that much iron. You don't want your pan to start rusting because you left tomato sauce in it. So I will usually avoid keeping them in there for more than an hour. But 10 minutes like this while it's cooking should be fine. It is going to absorb some of that iron, but it's just enough to be nutritionally happy, not enough that you are, eating chunks of it. So get that ladle in there. Awesome.
have to wait for the next batch.
So while these cook,
That's a big bad. Why don't I get one?
I was only 6. Oh yeah, I need to keep baking toast. That's right. I knew there was more that I had to do. Part of this program that I'm going to be doing at NELA is the program is called Improv and Improve, which, for me at least, role-playing games tend to be mostly improv. A lot of people like to put a lot of effort into planning ahead of time. I know you guys signed up for cooking, but we're talking gaming today. Cooking is like a game too in some ways. You have a lot of different ingredients, which can be kind of like your equipment, and then you make a bunch of rolls. I forgot some ingredients, but I remembered them eventually. I didn't roll too bad today. Hopefully I got like a nat 20 on something. That's a game term for those of you who don't play. But the idea behind my particular brand of role-playing is that it's very improv heavy. I never went to improv or did any improv when I was younger, but my sister is a very, very good actress, and ever since I was young, I was always playing games with her, acting games. So I've been able to develop sort of my characters quite thoroughly. And so the core for me for any role-playing game is being able to improv. And so the idea behind this presentation is that you don't need rules to play a game. A lot of people who play tabletop role-playing games or any games at all, board games for those of you who are interested, the hardest part of playing a board game is learning the rules at the beginning. You sit down and somebody has to read this manual, and usually if somebody's played the game before, it's their responsibility to teach you what's going on. And if nobody's played the game before, it takes you about an hour to even start, and you're not even sure if you're doing it right. So for me with tabletop games, I want librarians to be able to do it even if they don't know what the heck they're doing. So my sort of philosophy has been to just ignore the rules entirely. If a game wants you to roll dice and add bonuses and do all these things, we just skip that part. We play games based off of the story and the setting. So classically, Dungeons and Dragons is a game that a lot of people like to play. Dungeons and Dragons is usually set in a classic fantasy setting. You have dragons, you have elves, you have orcs. It's things that look a lot like Lord of the Rings or other fantasy books that you may be reading nowadays. And so instead of focusing on what game we want to play, we focus on a setting and our characters. And so the setting for this situation is going to be classic fantasy. Our characters are going to be ourselves. So think about the skills and abilities that you have and might bring to the table. If you know carpentry, that's great. If you know how to cook, that's awesome. If you know how to fight, that's cool too. I'm not saying you guys have to know how to fight. We're not necessarily going to get into combat today. But for me, and in general, when I'm playing a game, I want to tell a story. And so telling a story with a bunch of friends is very easy. When you were kids, at least when I was a kid, most of us did it already. We'd play, various games, and where one of us would be the enemies and the others would be the allies, and we'd be fighting against each other. We'd be using toy guns and whatever. And there was a classic phrase was always, "I got you." And he's like, "No, you didn't. You missed." And the reason why games developed rules was to make that situation not happen. Oh wow, this one's got toasted. Not happen as much. We wanted a situation where when a kid says, "You didn't get me," and the other one says, "No, I did," we can look at and say, were they successful or not? And so in D&D, classically, you roll a die, you add some sort of modifier, and you see if you hit them. And if you did, then you did hit them. And if you didn't, then they were right, and you have to deal with your failure. For the games that I am trying to sort of bring to the world, we don't bother with rules. We, as adults and as people who are no longer just kids playing outside, can decide as a group if you hit them or not. If it makes sense for the story, then that's what's going to happen. If it doesn't make sense for the story, or if we want some dramatic failure, because sometimes failure can add more to a story than success, it never sort of feels quite as exciting when the heroes just sort of roll in and smash all of their enemies without any resistance. There's always that moment where they're all down and out and they're reaching for their weapons and they're bloodied, and one of them gets back up and something crazy happens. The comeback is sometimes the best part of the story. And so when the way that we are sort of incorporating the story into the game is by letting the people who are playing it have more power than they normally would. In a game system where the rules determine success, the players don't have the power to choose what happens. They are at the whims of whatever mechanic you're using to determine success. But for me, and what I'm trying to sort of teach people is I want to bring that power back into the players' hands. You have to trust your players to do this. A lot of problems you read about in modern day tabletop role playing are this mentality that the storyteller or the dungeon master is against the players. So you have to trust your players. You have to trust your sort of storyteller as well. But I think at the end of the day, the system ends up working really well. It's just a fun way to have fun and tell a story. And so I've been telling you we're going to play a game, and if you guys are down, we can do it. The basic sort of incentive here is that I'm going to ask you guys to take on the role not only as players, but because I'm giving players back the power to make their own decisions, I'd like you to also take the role of the storyteller or the dungeon master. And so I'm going to be here as your guide, but I'd love if somebody, and you don't have to do anything, we can be silent for the next 20 minutes, but if somebody has a situation, let's set the scene, for instance. Where does anybody have any suggestions as where we might be right now? Where are we? We'll say, you know, for me, I like classic fantasy settings, so let's say we're in that world. So does anybody have a starting scene? Scream it out. We're playing this just like improv. Castle. All right, awesome. So we are in a castle, guys. I love that. Let's say that because we're eating, we're in the dining hall of the castle. Maybe we're eating with the king himself. He's invited us here for a meeting. We are. I'm just sort of making this all up as we go. All right. Who knows what's the meeting about? Why are we having this meeting? There are no wrong answers. I'll keep going if you guys want me to too. All right. So we're having this meeting. I haven't heard anything, right? Okay. We're having this meeting because there has been some turmoil in the land, and so we're two different sort of duchies that are having this meeting with the king so that we can talk about peace between our lands. You know, we don't really like these other guys because they put habaneros in their shakshuka, and we only put jalapenos in ours. And so for dinner tonight, we're having a dish that has jalapenos and habaneros in it because we're talking about unity right now, and everything's going great. And we'll just assume we're all there. You are playing as yourselves right now, so think about your own skills you might have. Everything's going great. Everything's lovely. And all of a sudden, the king reaches up and grasps at his throat and starts coughing. What do you guys do?
Heimlich maneuver.
You run up to do the Heimlich maneuver. Awesome. I love that. Do you happen to know how to do the Heimlich maneuver?
I do.
Okay, awesome. So we're in a situation where we don't have to ask the crowd. We don't have to ask our group if you can do that because you've just told me that you can do that. So without any training, because we already know you can do it, there's no reason to determine success because we know you're capable of doing it. You run up to the king and you start doing the Heimlich maneuver. And as you do that, he starts to wave you off. And he points at his mouth. You see that there's nothing caught in there. It's just bright red. And he is heaving and crying. And you realize that, well, I don't know. Do you guys know what might have happened to him? Anybody have any ideas?
He's reacting to the peppers.
Yeah, he's reacting to the peppers. That's exactly what it sounds like to me. So you realize that the king, and you guys have been eating shakshuka for quite a long time. And you've had various different peppers depending on which part of the country you're from. So this isn't such a big deal. Yeah, it's a little bit spicier than normal because we've added 2 different types of the peppers. But it seems like the king, and I hate to say this, guys, but it seems like the king has never had shakshuka ever. Because he's eating this shakshuka that is very, very spicy, and he seems like he's dying up there from the heat. What are we going to do? He is our king, so we probably like him a decent amount. You guys can make your own decision how you feel
Is there
about
a
it.
milk remedy for peppers? Is it milk supposed to
Yeah,
be
milk's
made?
great. Awesome. So it sounds like you're not sure about that. So one of you guys run off to the kitchen and you look for an ingredient that might help, and we get to decide as a group right now, what do you find? So do we think that she finds milk, or do we think that she finds something else? Does anybody have any suggestions? Sour cream? I like that. I saw something in the back.
King's brother dumping the milk down the drain.
Oh, nice! We find that. See, I love that. So you run to the kitchen to try and get the milk, and you see the king's brother, the last bit of milk dripping down the drain, a smile on his face, and he goes, ha 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 ha. So any number of you who wanted could have gone to the kitchen to follow. So we're in the kitchen. We see the king, this betrayal in mind. It almost feels like maybe he did something extra to the king's pot. Maybe the king has had shakshuka before. Has anybody seen the king eat shakshuka before? No? I haven't either. So maybe he hasn't. We don't know right now whether the king has or not. It's kind of central to our, cultural philosophy, eating shakshuka. So the king hasn't eaten it before. It might be problematic. But more important than anything else, we see this king trying to sabotage his brother. And what do we do about it? Does anybody have anything they want to do to this king's brother? Anything you want?
Make him eat the king's shakshuka.
Yeah, all right, I love that. So as a group, we gather him up, we grab his arms behind him, we say, all right, king, let's see, we'll call him Philip. I don't know, that's probably too kingly. Let's call him Ed. Ed, we grab Ed, the king's brother, and we bring him back into the grand hall where we're all eating our shakshuka, and everybody in the hall that we have left behind is sort of concerned as we march him up to the king's plate. The king's still grabbing his throat, trying to drink water, but just like at one point he belches and fire comes from his mouth. And we bring the king's brother up to the shakshuka, and he's just shaking his head. He says, no, please, anything but that. Do we still make him eat it? Of course. We sit him down at the king's table, and we give him a spoon, and we force him to eat the entire bowl. And spoon after spoon, you see his eyes getting redder and redder and redder, and his mouth, a little bit longer, his mouth gets hotter and hotter and hotter. You see fire start to come from his ears and smoke curl up. But he finishes the bowl, something the king could not do. And so we've given him our punishment that we decided on, but he's completed the task that we laid at hand, and he seems to be doing a lot better than his brother is. He asked for another bowl. He finishes up, and it's to the surprise of the entire audience, he asks for another. What's that?
He says, I'll have some more.
Yeah, I'll have some more. He says, I'll have some more. And so we have no choice but to give him some more, and he eats that bowl up as well. And that day he eats 4 bowls of shakshuka. He broke a sweat, but without the intense pain that the king, his brother, left behind. And so at the end of the meal, the king, having recovered finally, somebody ran down the road to find some milk from one of the local dairy farmers. The king, having recovered, sits down with all of us and his brother to discuss what happened and steps we should take further. What do you think we should do with the king, guys? He couldn't even handle his shakshuka. What did you say? Exile him? All right, awesome. I like the sound of that. We all feel good about exiling him?
The king,
Yeah, the king.
I think seems a little abrupt.
Okay, that's fine.
The two of them should sit down. We should question the brother as to what his intent was. Was he trying to knock off the king?
Awesome.
Okay, maybe in the room there's supporters of Philip, is it Ed? Philip,
Yeah.
Ed, and then supporters of the king. So now you have sort of a conflict between those.
I love that. That sounds great. I'm all for conflict resolution without violence and hard decisions. So that's a great idea. So we sit down and they talk it out. I think that the king's brother doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to tell us what his intentions were. He thinks that it's self-evident that what he did, and he doesn't need to explain himself. But this is the moment where you guys can make a decision for us. What do you guys think? This is what I think. This is not what I think happens. What do you guys think the king's brother says? What do you think his motivations were? Anybody? I'll come up with them if you want, but...
Mother always likes you best.
Wait, what's that?
Mother always likes you best.
I love it. All right, cool. So he says to his brother, he says, it's not your fault, brother. It's mom just always liked you best, and I always felt inferior, and so I had to show the world that I could beat you at something. And so he did. And his brother sort of thinks for a moment, still eyes red. But in this moment, it's not because he's too spicy. It's because he's starting to cry because he realizes that he's been king for a very long time, and he's forgotten about all the lovely times he had as a kid eating shakshuka with his brother and his mom. And so he cries and he hugs his brother. And from that day forward, a royal decree is made that all shakshuka should be as spicy as possible. And a lot of people leave the country after that. But our king and his brother go on to live a very, very happy life. And that's it. That's our game, guys. So thanks for playing with me. That was a little, rough, but that's the whole point. We had a story. We made a story together. I had a lot of fun. I'm gonna 100% add a king that eats shakshuka to my kids' game now, and they're gonna be like, what's shakshuka? And I'm gonna have to tell them all about this lovely program and how we got to come up with this together. So that's kind of a rough version of what we're going to be doing in Nila. We're going to get a lot more into game theory and like what actual ways there are to determine success and how dice are used or cards are used or even rock, paper, scissors. For this one, we just used group voting. We decided what we wanted to happen. If everybody liked it, nobody dissented, then that's what happened in our story. But in real games, especially with kids, they really like to have something physical to deal with, whether it be cards or dice or even just coins. And so having something to engage them physically is always a really good idea. So any sort of success mechanic you can that incorporates something physical is a really great way to get your party and your sort of companions to come together. So that's the absolute first time I've ever run a game while I was doing a cooking program. But thank you so much for giving me the space to explore while we waited for these eggs to poach. It's worked really well. We're on our last batch. I'm gonna crank this up and cook these ones hard. These are gonna be our hard eggs for those of you who want them cooked more. I forgot to ask, how is it? Is it okay? Yeah? Okay, good. We're doing good? Sweet. Okay, good. Yeah, I usually am asking as I'm talking, but we didn't get around to it. I have 6 eggs in here. How many people still need eggs? It's 6, right? 4. Okay, great, perfect, even better. So I'll cook them all, and I think I got 4 extras that I'll cook for staff. That's perfect. Any questions about gaming or food? I'm really excited that this one's going to go on YouTube. This one's going to be, I'm going to actually put this on my resource list for our conference. I can tell people how to cook shakshuka and how to play a game with a bunch of people who signed up for cooking. Any questions though?
What's the difference between Mexican oregano and Italian oregano?
Yes, awesome. So Mexican oregano is, I don't know this one for sure. I could probably check the internet, but Mexican oregano is a flower. It's marigolds, I believe. And Italian oregano will turn into flowers eventually, but we usually cut it down before that happens. And it's more of like a cover crop. But yeah, Mexican oregano, or is that Mexican tarragon? Heather, thank you. Yeah, so I'm thinking Mexican tarragon? Hold on, let me see. Oh, that's Mexican mint marigold. Yeah. I was thinking Mexican mint marigold, which is a form of tarragon, not oregano. Isn't it great that we have all this power in our hands? Yeah, Mexican oregano has a much thicker leaf, and it's part of the verbena family. So, cool. I didn't even realize that. I said the wrong thing earlier. I was thinking about Mexican mint marigold, which is essentially like a small flower marigold. And is more like a tarragon flavor, which tarragon would also go great in this. Tarragon and tomatoes, tarragon and chicken are two, like, put tarragon, tomato, and some shredded chicken in here with an egg, like, we're talking. I would eat that up. Tarragon is probably one of my favorite herbs, but it's so hard to grow and it's so hard to harvest enough to actually make a difference, which is sad, and dried tarragon just isn't the same. They don't even grow it anymore at a lot of the farms around here because it's just impossible to keep in stock. And they can't, like, charge enough for it. But when I first started working at Morning Glory, we had a chicken salad there that was made with fresh tarragon from the garden, and it is by far my favorite chicken salad I've ever made. It's really simple. It's just celery, onions, red onions specifically, tarragon and mayonnaise, and like a touch of Dijon mustard. But the tarragon just made it. It just like gave it this pop, this lovely like liveliness. Chicken can be really, it's light because it's white chicken meat, but it can still be kind of like heavy in flavor. It's got a lot going on, and the chicken fat especially. But tarragon just cuts through it perfectly. It's almost got like a minty vibe. It's very like bright herb. It brings a lot of like freshness into dishes that might be very, very intense and heavy. All right, I'm gonna cook this longer just because these are still pretty juicy, but they're looking good. We're almost there.
I have a question.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
When did the oregano go in? At the end?
The oregano went in. Yeah. So I kind of forgot about it. The oregano was supposed to go in right before I put it in the pan to start poaching. So I did put some into the pan, and I put the rest into the pot, but it was supposed to go into the whole pot all at once, and then I was going to stir it up and put it into the pan to start poaching. So right before you put the eggs in.
Yeah, I can't taste quite as much oregano as I thought.
Yeah, and I only put the one bunch in there. Again, for me, with this dish, it's 2 bunches of herbs for a ×4 recipe. I think in here, I say a half a cup, which is about a half a bunch. So I normally there'd be a whole bunch of cilantro in this as well, but you could also double up on the oregano and you taste it more. But you want to, generally, in my experience, you want to mix the herbs so that it adds flavor and intensity and what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it adds like flavor and intensity, but you don't taste anyone individually. And you sort of just taste them all together, and they make it taste better. So mixing herbs is usually the best way to go. But if you really, really like one herb, like I do with cilantro, you can just put all of that in as well. It's not going to be a problem.
So I have no cilantro in mine.
Yes, unless you put some on.
Now I'm thinking, maybe I should have put some cilantro.
Feel free to.
But I don't like cilantro.
Oh, if you don't like, then don't put it on. Don't put it on. For those of you that don't like cilantro,
I feel like I'm missing something.
a lot of people have the genetic indicator that makes cilantro taste like soap.
I do.
Yeah, so you're never gonna like it. It's okay.
Never gonna like it.
Yeah, if it tasted like that to me, I wouldn't like it either. I can smell that flavor. Like when you cut cilantro, you get that sort of smelly, soapy flavor. But most of us, when we taste it, don't taste that. We taste. I can't describe it. It's that floral feeling, but not that floral taste. And some people are just unfortunate that they can't eat it. I mean, you could, but you don't torture yourself. Don't eat food that doesn't taste good unless like you're actually really, really hungry. All right, let's see. I think can't see. Those are much more set than the other ones. I think we're gonna call it. If you want it super hard, I can keep cooking these, but these ones do feel like they're a lot more set than the other ones, so they should be good to go. It's still a little juicy, but it'll cook in the sauce once you. Awesome. I'm gonna just keep cooking this. If you want it like fully set, just be patient with me, and we'll get you an egg soon. But that one I would say is about an over medium, and it'll cook more once the sauce actually gets to the yolk itself. You know, actually, that's not a bad idea. I'm just gonna boop, 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 boop. There is a trash over there, right? I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Nope.
Did I just hear my mom say she's proud of me? What? Oh yeah. Luckily for me, my mom liked both of us best, so I didn't have to poison my sister ever.
Didn't miss that.
Oh, thanks, Mama, for cleaning up. Guys, I'm going to stop the recording now just as we sort of get into the end of this, but I want to thank you guys all for coming. This was a lot of fun. I want to thank you for playing a game with me. And I want to let you know that we will be doing Sheffield Cooks again until June. So remember, signups are a week before it happens, not on the 1st. So keep your ears out or eyes out for when that is. And next month we are going to do eggs again. I alluded a little bit. We'll be doing something poach related. I'm really excited for next month. I don't know what it's going to look like in my little kitchen here, but we're going to get it done. There might be some game playing again to pass the time. We'll see. But what we're doing next month is a lot faster because we're going to be doing it directly in water. So, and we're going to make a sauce that I know a lot of you probably want to be able to make at home as well. So I'll see you guys all next month for those of you who can come. And again, thank you so much for coming.